Alright, before we get started with this video, I just want to make clear that I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I am only wanting to give you guys like a basic functional knowledge for anybody who's going to visit Colorado or anybody who's planning to move there soon. If you need detailed advice on the laws, or if you need detailed information about these laws, do more research, or even better yet, go find a lawyer who specializes in marijuana, who specializes in these exact issues, because I'm sure there are plenty of them out there since this state has legalized recreational marijuana. So go find a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I just wanted to make that clear to you guys. Please go seek out somebody else if you do need that kind of detailed advice. Okay, so I wanted to start a new series, and I'm going to call it State Laws. And we're going to talk about, you guessed it, state marijuana laws. And so we're going to start off with Colorado. We're going to start off with Colorado for a couple different reasons. First, it was one of the first two states to legalize. Second, it's one of my favorites as far as the laws so far. There's a lot of room for improvement. And third, because this took me a while to draw, and I don't want to erase it yet. So we're going to do Colorado first. And also, we just took a trip there, and that was really cool. For each video in this series, I'm going to go through each state's marijuana laws. I'm going to tell you about the penalties for possession, sale, cultivation, and I'm going to talk about what I like about that state's laws and maybe what direction they're taking as far as changes, and what I don't like about those state laws. And maybe some over-regulation or something that I just don't like about the way that they wrote the laws. So in case you've been in a coma and haven't heard, Colorado has legalized possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana, and it kind of has different rules for the different forms. There's the concentrates and the edibles, but basically it can not add up to any more than the equivalent of 1 ounce or 28 grams of marijuana. Possession of between 1 and 2 ounces is a petty offense and is going to come with a fine of $100. And as it go up, it's still illegal to have more than 1 ounce. And as it goes up, the penalties get higher. So 2 ounces to 6 ounces is going to carry up to a year jail sentence and a fine of up to $700. Once you get up higher than that, you have 6 to 12 ounces, and that's when you get into the 6 to 18th month jail sentence and up to a $5,000 fine. Anything past 12 ounces, you're going to have between 1 and 2 years prison sentence, and you're also going to have up to $100,000 fine. So it is legal to possess, but it is not legal to possess more than 1 ounce. And also, all of this only applies to adults age 21 and over. If you are under the age of 21, it is still illegal for you to possess marijuana in the state of Colorado. Alright guys, next up is sale. And unless you work for a licensed dispensary and unless you have your MED card from the Marijuana Enforcement Division, do not sell marijuana. It's still not legal to sell marijuana unless it's under those circumstances. Because let's be honest guys, the state's gonna want to get their cut through taxes and through licensing. And so if you don't do that, you still risk jail time. In fact, anything over 4 ounces is going to be a felony. And if you've got really big amounts, like 50 pounds, that's an excessive amount. But if you're running with those kinds of loads, then you're looking at up to 32 years in prison and a fine of up to $1 million. So they're still going to enforce those laws, and they're still going to have illegal sale. Now, anything less than 4 ounces is going to be a misdemeanor, but it's still going to carry the possibility of jail time. With that being said, There is still the ability to gift up to 1 ounce to another person who is at least 21 years old. So you can't sell it to them, but you are allowed to give it to them. It is also now legal in Colorado to grow your own marijuana plants in your home. There are some rules that you have to follow in order to do this. First of all, the plants have to be in an enclosed and locked space. They can't be out in the open. You can't have a hedge in your backyard of marijuana. You can't have a garden in a greenhouse unless it's completely able to close and lock. I'm not even sure if it would even be able to be a clear greenhouse, which of course that's kind of what a greenhouse is. So it might have to be like obscured from public view as well. I'm not exactly sure on that kind of nuance, but I know it does have to be in an enclosed locked space. You're allowed to grow up to 6 plants, but there are restrictions on how many plants could be mature or in the flowering stage, which I'm going to make a video soon talking about the marijuana plant life cycle. They can only have 3 of the 6 plants in a mature phase or in a flowering phase. Any more than 6 plants, it does become illegal again. If you have more than 6 without a medical permit allowing you to grow more than 6, it's going to get into the felony category. 6 to 30 plants is going to be a felony that carries 6 months to up to 2-year jail sentence, and it's going to come with a fine of up to $100,000. And then once you get north of 30 plants, it's going to carry anywhere from 2 to 6 years in the jail sentence, prison sentence, and it's going to be a fine of up to $500,000. Now, there's no regulation on the size of the plants, so the plants can be as big as you want. So there are some nuances to the laws as far as the amount that you can possess at the cultivation site. So of course, if you know anything about marijuana and marijuana cultivation, you're going to know that 3 mature plants, especially 3 good sized ones, are going to produce more than 1 ounce of marijuana. So they have allowed for that. As long as you don't have more than 1 ounce with you outside of that space, then you're okay. There also are some rules about where you can smoke. You can't smoke in public, and you can't smoke within certain distance from a school or church or any public building. Basically, you're restricted to in your own home or in a friend's home or Airbnb type thing, or if there's a hotel that caters to any kind of marijuana tourism, they might allow for that. They might let you smoke in your room. So basically you have to be in a private setting, and you can't be anywhere where kids will be around it. You can't be anywhere where you'd be anywhere near a school or park or any public space like that. All right, as for what I like about Colorado's marijuana laws, well, they legalized it. First and foremost, they actually legalized it. Colorado, along with Washington, were the first states to go out there and put themselves on the line and say, we're going to let our residents of our state and visitors to our state smoke this stuff because we don't understand why it's illegal, and we don't quite understand why so many people are in jail because of it, and we want to give this a shot because a good majority of our residents want to try it, and so we're going to try it. And that right there is one of the reasons why Colorado has got my favorite setup so far. I also kind of like Colorado's home grow laws. They do allow for you to grow at home without getting any kind of permit. You can just grow 6 plants, which is a pretty good amount for growing at home, plus 3 of them in flowering. That's going to produce a pretty good amount, and if you do it with the right cycle to it, I feel like you probably should be able to keep a pretty good supply going, and there's no reason why that wouldn't be sufficient for 1 or 2 people. And you can actually have up to 12 plants in the house because it's 6 per person. And so you can't have any more than that for the household. So you can't just have like 10 people living in the house so that you can have an entire wing of the house dedicated to marijuana with a ton of plants. But you can do 12 if you have more than one person living there who is above the age of 21. And I think that's not too bad, especially considering that states like Nevada don't really allow for home grow unless you live really far from the nearest dispensary, which is basically very unpopulated places out in the middle of the desert, because there are plenty of them in Vegas, and I think they probably have a pretty good amount in Reno as well. So you have to be in a pretty remote area of that state to be allowed to home grow, and that's one thing I don't like about that, but I'll make a video about Nevada later on in the series. And when it comes to the things that I don't like about what they did with the laws in Colorado, basically comes down to two main things. First, it's just kind of the arbitrary nature of the laws. It's kind of weird to me that if you have 28 grams, you're legal, but if you have 28.1 grams, it's a crime. If you've got an ounce, you're okay, but if you've got 2 ounces, you might go to jail. Kind of seems a little weird, and it kind of seems a little arbitrary. I just can't think of that many other commodities or items that we allow to sell on the open market that are illegal in only certain quantities, and that whenever you have smaller amounts it's okay, but when you have larger amounts it's not okay. I can't think of any other thing that we legally allow to be sold that operates in that way. I'm pretty sure the idea is that if you can't have larger amounts, then you're not going to be as likely to be selling it, that it's much more likely to be just for personal use. But when you think about it, there's not a whole lot of products out there that have a legal market that is regulated and licensed that has a big black market. So I do believe that at some point it's important down the line to draw that back and make it to where that it's legal to have any amount. I don't really think that as it more normalizes that you're going to find a lot of people who are going to be trying to grow large scale and sell that. Because think about tobacco or alcohol. Yeah, there are people who as a hobby brew their own beer, but they're not selling it. And if you think about tobacco, not anyone that I've ever met has ever grown their own tobacco and rolled their own cigars or cigarettes with tobacco that they've grown themselves. And so yes, people are going to do it on their own for themselves, but the sale is going to eventually get to the regulated market. But with that being said, the other thing that I don't really care for with the Colorado laws is the difficulty to get into the industry. Now with that, there are states that are more difficult to get into the industry, but in Colorado, the license to get your shop even opened is several $1,000s, north of $5,000, and can even get north of $10,000 for all of your licensing fees. And anyone just going to work for their dispensary has to get a $75 card, and if you're a manager or anybody who is a key person, I think is how they label it, you have to get a $250 card. And I think it should be a lot easier to get into the industry, because in any industry in which there is a lot of competition, in any industry in which the actors within that industry must fight for your dollar, those are the industries in which the quality is the highest. Alright, that's about it for the Colorado state laws. Like I said earlier, guys, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. If you need detailed legal advice, go see a lawyer that specializes in this stuff. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, guys. Help me grow this channel. Share it with your friends. And until next time, guys, let's grow.